Hello, and today I'd like to talk about the API. Now, the API is the kind of the database that TSM and the Undermined Journal hook into to access all the data of all the items that are on the auction house. Now, this has been down for about 25 days now. You can go onto there's a website, does.theapi.work, and it'll tell you whether the API is working or not. Now, it's been down for about 25 days and 13 hours, it says here. So what does this mean? Well, it means that we've got no access to the data for all the prices of all our items. So if you look at something like the Chaos Crystals here, literally there's been no update on the prices, so we don't know how many there are, what the prices are, what the variation is. So what that means is we're going to have to be very careful, if you haven't already, in setting your auction prices and the things that you can do whilst you're in World of Warcraft trying to make gold. Now, the number one thing you can't do is you can't use the mobile app to do any remote auctions. So that's out of the question already, which is really frustrating for some players. Personally, I haven't used it, so I don't have that issue, but I know a lot of people have been finding that really frustrating this past month. The other thing that's going to be difficult is anyone who does any sniping. If you're not really familiar with the prices of things on your server, you're not going to know what's going to be a bargain, because all the prices are going to be based off, say, the DB market average or the DB region market average, which are at least 25 days old now. So there's a problem there. So I wouldn't recommend doing any sniping unless you're particularly really good at knowing what's good and what's not good. Personally, again, I don't use Sniper, so it hasn't affected me so much, but I know it's affected a lot of people, especially if you're thinking of starting out in an area like this. The other thing that's going to be difficult is your shopping operations. If your shopping operations are based off of the market value, then it's not going to really give you an accurate representation of what's going to be a bargain and what's not. One thing you can do, though, is if you've got shopping operations already set up for certain items, is if you go into your TSM, into your groups for, say, your shopping operation, say, for example, I've got my good stuff shopping operation, which is all of these things, you can change the operation to be something like your average buy price rather than the market price. So if you've set your smart averages on, which is down in accounting, use smart average for purchase price, that uses the price of what you've bought already. So if you set your shopping operation to be the average buy price, so your maximum auction price is going to be based off the average buy rather than the DB market value, then it'll just look at what you've been buying over the last sort of, say, however much is in your stock, and it will look at those prices rather than the DB market price, so you can get more of an accurate sort of idea as to what's going to be personally a bargain to you. Now, obviously this isn't going to help you with new items, but at least it will help you with stuff you're continuing to buy throughout this period. So if you look at this shopping scan based on my average buy prices, you can see I can still see what's a bargain for me based on what I've been buying. The other thing to look out for is for things like Large Brilliant Shard, which I've noticed that the price of those have been going down since 7.3.5 because of the change in enchant materials. I've noticed that the price has been dropping and dropping, so my average purchase price is 31 gold of this, but I know that the price, I've been watching this for the past month, and the price has been going down and down and down. So you really need to have a bit more sort of kind of like cautiousness and awareness over knowing what your prices are for the things you want to buy. And so don't just go in and just buy, oh, that looks cheap. Just think about, you know, where these have come from. Has anything changed over the last month? And then you can see whether something is going to be a bargain or not based upon your own knowledge of the market. If you're not sure about it, then exercise just a little bit more caution, really. The other thing to watch out for is new items that are now being dropped in zones like Zul'Farrak. There's certain items that were quite hard to get hold of and now are more readily available, and so the old prices of them haven't been updated. So you might find some item is like really expensive based on old prices, but since the 7.3.5 has released new items, then you might find that these are more of a bargain. So it's just a question of really watching out for those and making sure that you understand the market a bit more. So the main thing really is just to exercise a bit more caution during this time and just double check your prices. Make sure you understand the price of those items that you're looking at, and maybe if you're not sure, just leave it for now and wait until the API comes back. The other thing to be careful of is if any of your group operations use DB market value or DB region market value, just be a bit careful that those prices are going to change slightly, and maybe either hold off posting items like that, or just make sure that you're not sort of either falsely inflating or deflating the market. So just be a bit careful about those groups that you've got set up. If you've got something like professions, then you can base your prices off of your crafting cost rather than the market value. And if you check in your materials to make sure that the cost of your materials is coming from, say for example, your average buy price rather than the market price, then at least you know that the figures you're looking at are based off things that you're doing right now in the game, as opposed to what the whole market is doing. And at least TSM will be able to track those things. So that's it basically. We're just going to wait and hope that Blizzard get this fixed sometime soon. I mean, it's been 25 days. Let's hope it's done in the next sort of week or so. There is actually a contest here. If you go on this website, you can predict when you think when the API will come back on, and you might win $20 in BattleNet balance. Until then, just take care. Try and make sure you know your market, and let's hope, fingers crossed, that it's going to come back sometime soon.